Hey Aquarius, and here we are with your March 2023 new moon reading. Not just that. I mean, we're talking about the equinox, the new moon, and Pluto ingressing into a new sign. There's a hell of a lot more than that going on, but we're going to start with looking at the new to full moon. I'm briefly going to talk about the stuff that's happening astrologically. I know this isn't an astrological video, so I'll keep it brief. So this is a collective reading for the Aquarians, for a sun sign Aquarius or rising sign Aquarius, right? So thank you guys for giving me feedback, because I've been hearing that it's helpful to have a place to have a focal point. So even though these are collective readings, it's not going to hit for every Aquarius, right? So the way that we can kind of, at least for right now, have been able to focus which area of life this is in touch with is to use this particular deck. So it's been working pretty well, and people have given me feedback, so I'm going to stick with it until people say otherwise. So here we have the 6th house. So what we're looking at here is what area of life is calling your attention during this new to full moon phase, like where to focus your attention, time, and energy, and how to take this general reading, because it's not a one-to-one reading, right? It's not going to hit for every person. If this is your message and it resonates, awesome. If it's not, well, then it doesn't this month, right? Because if you want a specific reading, you need to book a personal reading, right? So how can we focus this general reading, this collective reading for my Aquarians? So we're looking at the 6th house, and the 6th house has to do with a few different themes. So this is how we're going to focus our reading. This has to do with your day in and day out life, things that seem mundane, which I think seem boring to some people, myself included. I've had to reframe this, but think about the habits and the rituals that you create on a daily basis are what set up the foundation and the framework for the rest of your life to be built upon, right? If you don't have good habits, if you don't have a good foundation, then it's really difficult to create some semblance of stability and a framework to build everything else on, right? Now, the other themes that exist within the 6th house are acts of service, being of service to the world, basically having your skills that you currently have, that are there naturally, or the ones that you've learned that are of assistance, that are helpful to other people. So the word service has tripped me out for many years. It's not been an easy one for me, but I've reframed my connection to it. And essentially what we're talking about when we're talking about acts of service or being of service, we're just talking about what's of value to other people. That could be coaching, that could be teaching, that could be a lot of different things, right? So wanting to contribute in some way, something that feels of value to other people, and there's some satisfaction that comes from that, right? That's what it is to be in service, right? And then also, this is the house of health. When we look at somebody's health in medical astrology, we're looking at the 6th house for sure. I mean, we look at other factors, but we're looking at the 6th house because that is the house of health. So in which ways are you taking care of your health? What is showing up in your health? Now, without looking at your natal chart and getting super specific, we're looking at themes, right? So these are the themes that are coming up for this particular period of time from the new moon to the full moon. Remember that the new moon to the full moon is when we're building and churning and growing energy and building it up to this pinnacle point of climax, where it's the gestation period of pregnancy before there's the pop, right? At the full moon, there's that pop at the peak, and then it goes into waning energy, right? So that's the energy that we are in. That's how we're going to focus this particular reading. So let's take a look at, during this new to full moon period, you hear a lot of people talking about manifestation and setting intentions and planting seeds. And I don't feel like people are actually not always, doing this in a grounded way. And what I would prefer to look at is how can we focus our time, energy, and attention, like a more pragmatic perspective about how we can focus our time, energy, and attention with this period of time that we have every month. Every month we have an approximate 2-week period of time where we can create momentum, build that, like to get that snowball rolling, right? And so if we were to know what area of life is calling our attention and how to build our momentum, where to focus our attention, then that would be really helpful, right? So let's also take a look at some spiritual advice that's coming through. And then I will mention briefly, really briefly, the astrological transits. So we're taking a look at what spiritual advice is also coming through for this period of time. I'm feeling this one. Awesome. I'm really liking this. I'm really, really liking this. Oh, there's cricket. Probably bothers no one else but me. Or maybe a couple Virgos out there. Virgo risings. So anyway, so here's the thing. Before we get into this, I just want to say I'm recording these a little bit early so that we have this coming out on the equinox before the new moon. So the equinox, the spring equinox, is happening on Monday, March 20th at 2:24 Pacific time. That's the exact point, but we could say the entire day is the equinox, right? It's a day of equal day and equal night. So it's a period of time where we could say that we can utilize that energy. It doesn't have to just be at the peak. Then right after that, we have the new moon moving into Aries in tropical astrology, right, at 10:23 a.m. on Pacific Coast time. So with just those two things alone, we have this burst of energy, right? The equinox is the beginning of the astrological new year, right? So for some of us, the Gregorian calendar new year, yes, okay, it's a new year that we follow because we follow quarters and like so many things are set up with business and whatnot, and it's just a habit. And so there is a collective energy that happens at that time in the middle of winter, but really when this energy is potent and really comes forward is at the beginning of spring, right? There's this bursting of energy, blades of grass, flowers starting to bud, or like new leaves starting to show on trees and branches and bushes and whatnot, right? And so then we have that, like, and whether it's tropical or sidereal doesn't matter. The equinoxes are the equinoxes, the solstices are the solstices. Those don't change, right? What constellation they're in, that changes depending on the system. Then we have the next day where we have the new moon happening, right? Now we're talking about tropical. I think most people that follow me follow tropical. I don't know how to incorporate sidereal yet. But we're talking about tropical, and that is cardinal energy. It's combustible energy. It is this new burst of energy. So we have that energy happening with that constellation and the equinox plus the new moon energy. Now you would think that this would be like super liberating with all of this newness, but we have a lot of other shit happening astrologically that makes it feel a little bit muddled and not so clear. So you may feel like, it doesn't quite feel this way. That doesn't necessarily resonate completely. And that might be for a lot of different reasons. One of which is the last thing I'm going to mention before we get into these cards, which is that Pluto is ingressing into Aquarius. Now, it takes approximately 20 years for Pluto to move into a new sign, into a new constellation. And it is moving into Aquarius in tropical astrology for about 5 to 6 months. And then it'll retrograde back into Capricorn. And then in 2024, it'll be back into Aquarius, and it will stay there for approximately 20 years. Now, why is this a big deal? Think about it. When a celestial body, because it's not a planet, when a celestial body that we follow like this makes a transit into a new constellation, it changes everything. Everything shifts because it's like a new overlay, a new blanket of themes that happen over the collective. And of course, what themes are happening on the collective affect us on a personal level. They affect our jobs, they affect our life, they affect our relationships, and depending on what's happening in your natal chart. So it's a huge, huge deal. So for this next like 5-6 months, we're going to get a preview of what the next 20 years are going to look like when it goes fully into Aquarius and stays there in 2024. So a lot happening this week. My intention with these, like, these are the longest new moon readings I think I've ever done, and they are because I feel like it's important to say all these things. So let's get into the rest of your reading. My intention is to have this hopefully be a guiding force and to be helpful. So we look at how can you spend your time, energy, and attention during this period, and we have the Four of Swords. I find this really interesting because the Four of Swords in the 6th house have a similar kind of energy. The Four of Swords has to do with rest and rejuvenation, with taking care of yourself, taking care of your psyche, taking care of your mental health and your physical health, right? Taking care of your health in all levels. And also an integration period. There's a period of rest, you know? Like, think about any time that you've been, I don't know, you've been studying something and you're like going, and your brain just cannot input anymore. It needs to just integrate. It needs a break to like settle. And that's kind of what this energy is like. You need some time to settle with life, and you need to take care of your health on all of these different levels. That's what your focus is like. It's super clear with these two cards what needs to be. And then once you do that, you will be in an aligned position to be able to move forward with your life, right? So if you want to have momentum in your life, if you want to move towards the things that you want and that you truly desire, like it's going to take some patience, but it's going to take you just like slowing things down a little bit. Like you might want to be voracious about life, but what you really need to do is focus on like your daily rituals, your daily habits, the structures that upon which you're building for your life, and to take the time so that you can integrate things and you can be in a space of alignment. It's only when we get into these places of like solace that we're able to integrate things, that we're able to get inspiration, that we're able to have realizations come through. But if we're constantly inputting and going, we don't make any space. We don't make any, you know, like there has to be nothingness to allow something to come in, right? And then we can be in an aligned space. And I feel like this is super potent, really powerful for you guys. So I would say check out your, like if you want the big picture, check out your March reading. I'll have that up on the screen here. Check out your March reading so you can get the full picture into here. And in the next few days, I will have the April readings up. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button, sorry, and also the notification bell so that you know when the next videos come out and you can see the progression and how that happens. If you want something more specific to you and you want to know like how is this actually showing up for me, then you can book a session with me. The information for that is down below. And I'm just wishing you so much ease and clarity as we go through these experiences. So thanks for being here, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.